Hi, my name's Kim Jane. I'm a visually impaired chef. I'm also a volunteer for RNIB. I've written 2 cookery books, an Indian cookery book called A Taste of Spice and another book called A Sense of Cooking, with all proceeds going to RNIB, and they are in large print. Now today we're going to take a step into the tropics and make a vegan mango cake. It is super moist, super delicious whether you're vegan or not, and very easy to make. Now the ingredients you're going to need are 3 teaspoons of baking powder, a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, 3 tablespoons of corn flour, a pinch of salt, about a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 200 grams of caster sugar, 600 mils of mango puree. Now you can get these in tins from all main supermarkets. 4 green cardamoms. Now these are optional depending on your taste and availability. 250 grams of plain flour and 160 mils of light oil. Vegetable oil is great. And those are the ingredients you're going to need for this cake. The first step is to mix all the dry ingredients together. Now with the green cardamoms, you split the green cardamoms and you take out the seeds, discarding the shell. And you do that with all the green cardamoms, and you put it into a mixing bowl with the plain flour, and into that mixing bowl you add 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. Now bicarbonate of soda and baking powder is what's going to help this cake to rise without the eggs, and a pinch of salt, and stir it together well so it's all combined. In a separate mixing bowl you add the caster sugar, the oil, and about a teaspoon of vanilla essence, and you whisk that together until it froths up. I've whisked the sugar and oil and it's sort of thick. The consistency is thickish, and now I add the mango pulp to that. I love mangoes. You only have to smell it to imagine yourself sitting on a beach with a hot sun on your back and the ocean just lapping your feet. Now with the mango pulp, with the sugar and the oil, you once again whisk. It's only a quick whisk just to sort of combine the ingredients. If you don't have an electric whisk, don't worry, just use a wooden spoon or a balloon whisk. Now into this liquid mixture that we've just made, we're going to turn it into batter by adding that flour that we combined all the other ingredients. Do it a little bit at a time and just fold in the flour. Don't beat it in because we want to keep all that air in the batter. So a little bit of a time, add the flour, fold it in, and keep doing that until it is combined. I've got 2 round cake tins with a deep base. It's approximately 16 to 18 centimetres, and it's one of those spring-backed tins which you can just open the spring and the cake comes out easily. Now I've put baking parchment on the bottom and I have lightly oiled the inside. So again, no butter, totally vegan. And into that you put into each tin you put half of the mixture. I've had the oven on at 180 degrees C, and I've got the 2 cakes here which I'm going to put in the oven. Now because of the mango, which has quite a bit of natural sugar in it, it is going to catch on the top when you put it in the oven and cook it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place a baking parchment over the cake to try and stop it from catching on the top. And we're going to put it into the oven for approximately 30 to 40 minutes. I will check the cakes at the 30-minute mark, and at which stage I will take off the baking parchment. I've had the cakes in the oven for approximately 35 minutes and I've pulled them out. Now, how do I know when they're done? If you slightly touch the centre of the cake, it feels firm. Put a knife through it, and if it comes out clean, your cakes are done. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little sort of very thin layer of mango filling to go between the cakes. Now, I'm going to measure out 3 tablespoons of the corn flour and put it into a dish. And I'm going to mix a little bit of cold water. Now, you're looking at about 2 tablespoons of cold water. Make sure the water is cold and not hot. And mix it together until it becomes a paste. But once it starts to mix in with the water, it does loosen up. And you need to make sure all those lumps are out. And there you go, that's my corn flour paste that I've just mixed up. It's liquidy and there's no lumps in it and it's smooth. Now on the hob I've got a saucepan which I've put on, and the remaining mango puree that you had left in the tin after you've took the 600ml away, which is approximately 250ml, I'll put that on to boil at a sort of gentle simmer. Now, to that mango puree, I'm going to add that corn flour mix that we've just done. And what you want to do is gently keep stirring and bring it to a simmer. And as you do this, what happens is the corn flour will thicken the mango, so you almost get, well, I call it a vegan jelly. It's almost like a jelly. And you just keep stirring, and make sure you keep stirring because it will have a habit of clumping together if you don't. So just keep it stirring it, keeping it as smooth as possible, and bring that mixture to a simmer. Once it starts simmering, cook for about 3 or 4 minutes further, and you'll find as you're cooking that mixture is beginning to thicken. Now the mixture is quite thick now and it's coming together, and what you need to do now is just let that cool down for at least 5 minutes before you put it on the cake, and just keep stirring as it's cooling down. Every so often just give it a stir. If it's too thick, add a little bit more water, but you need it thick enough to spread. I'd almost say the consistency of a jam, thicker, just slightly thicker than a jam. With 1/2 of that cake, I'm going to pour that lovely mango jelly filling onto the top and spread it around. Now it's up to you how much you put on, whether you want a thin layer or a thick layer. It is utterly delicious. And what this does is it moistens the cake even further. And just spread it around on the top. I've spread the mango gel over this half of the cake. Now you can just put the other half on top and sprinkle it with a little bit of icing sugar to finish off. But what I like to do is get a little bit of desiccated coconut, and in that, on the top of that gel, just sprinkle a little bit in, and it just gives you that little hint of coconut. And I'm taking that top layer and placing it on top, and just to finish it off, a little shower of icing sugar on top. Now it's not a very sweet cake, it has a tang with that mango gel in the middle, but it is amazing. Super moist, and it's vegan. Now you have a recipe for a great dish, but when you're in the kitchen there are certain safety guides and rules that you should adhere to, and which keeps you safe. Now, one of the things that I do before I start cooking is I make sure that I've got shoes on that are sturdy with good grips. I make sure that there's nothing on the floor that I can trip over, and there are no spillages or liquid or condensation on the floor that makes it a bit of a hazard. Now, before cooking, the first thing that you do, as we all know, is wash our hands thoroughly. And especially when you're dealing with raw meat at every stage, wash your hands thoroughly. It stops cross-contamination. It keeps you and your family safe. When you're using the oven and the hob, know your oven and hob really well. Now, I use tactile markings so that I know exactly what temperature to put the oven on and what setting, so that I've not put the grill on when I should be putting the oven on. Now, with the hob, whenever you're sort of putting anything on the hob, make sure the handle is not sticking out. Now, I like to keep the handle at approximately 10 to 12. And the reason for that is it's not near enough to the unit for you to accidentally knock it off. It is not over another hob which may be on, so the handle's getting hot. So this is the safest position. Now, if you're boiling anything, be very, very careful. Don't fill the pan up too much. And if possible, use the boiler alert, which tells you when that liquid is bubbling away and it's hot, and it keeps you safe. If you're not comfortable with the hob and the oven, use the microwave whenever you can. It's a lot safer. And every time you are taking things out of the oven or from the microwave, because remember, plates and dishes get extremely hot in the microwave, use oven gloves. Now, I like to use thermal oven gloves. They're a lot safer. Don't be tempted to use tea towels or anything else. And they literally go to extreme temperatures, so you're very safe with them. Whenever you cut any food in the kitchen, use safe cutting methods. Keep the blade away from your fingers, so set it a couple of millimeters away from your fingers, and that way you're safe all the time. Now, if you're not confident with a knife, you can use appliances like food processors. Make sure you know how they work properly, and keep safe. And if you're still not confident, ask somebody else to do it. It is better to be safe than have an injury. If you have any cuts or you cut yourself whilst you're in the kitchen, put a plaster on it. And if you have a burn, run it under cold water. And if it's bad, you seek medical advice straight away. Whenever you cook meat, always ensure that the meat is thoroughly cooked, because you know, raw meat will give you food poisoning. Now, the best optimum temperature to cook meat is between 66 degrees and 73 degrees. Use a food thermometer if you're not too sure. They do have talking food thermometers, which you can get quite easily. And you store the meat as soon as you can. As soon as it's cooled down, store it straight away in the fridge and read the advice on storage on the labels.